Good morning, dear students of class 11 science. Welcome to biology class. In the last class we have finished the topic kingdom protista. Today we will begin with the new kingdom, that is kingdom fungi. Okay, so under this kingdom we will learn about general characteristics and mode of reproduction of each, including the type of spores, the sexual reproductions, and under sexual reproductions we will go through the definition of isogamy, anisogamy, oogamy, plasmogamy, karyogamy, and dikaryophase. Okay, then we'll learn about zygomycetes, ascomycetes, basidiomycetes, deuteromycetes. So we'll go through the characteristics with examples of these four classes of fungi. Then we'll learn about the role of fungi in the field of medicines, in bakery and environmental decompositions. And last we'll learn about the definition of lichens and mycorrhiza, which are two types, ecto and indo. Okay, so these are the topics which we have to study under the kingdom fungi. This is there in our syllabus. Okay, so first of all, today we will begin with the general characteristics of the kingdom fungi, the kingdom of multicellular decomposers. Okay, so the branch of biology that deals with the study of fungi is called mycology. Clear? So mycology is the field of biology or the branch of biology that deals with the study of fungi, and the study of disease causing fungi is known as fungal pathology. Okay, and when we used to study the disease causing fungi, that means those fungi which cause different types of diseases, then it is called fungal pathology. Okay, so this kingdom fungi includes a large group of organisms with over 1 lakh known species. They are achlorophyllous, means they are without chlorophyll. Okay, they are achlorophyllous. The word over here, the word A means no. So they are without chlorophyll, they bear spore, and non-vascular means they don't have vascular tissues. Okay, they don't have xylem or phloem. The cell wall of fungi is made up of cellulose or chitin, and they store the rich of food material in the form of glycogens. Mainly in case of plants it will be glucose, right? But in case of fungi, the rich of food materials will be in the form of glycogens. They are filamentous. Their body is composed of filaments, okay, which may be branched or unbranched. Okay, and most of the fungi, they are multicellular, but with exceptions we have got one unicellular fungi, and that is yeast. Remember, all the fungi, they are multicellular, they are highly complex. Okay, but one fungi is there which is unicellular, that is yeast. This is the exception of unicellular fungi. They are heterotrophic organisms because they don't have chlorophylls. Okay, so they are heterotrophic, and they are the major decomposers of the organic matter along with the bacteria, because bacteria will also help in decomposition. So along with bacteria, these fungi are also the major decomposers, which will help in the decomposition of organic material and will help in the recycling of inorganic and organic molecules in the environment. So kindly write down the characteristics of the kingdom fungi. Okay, the next one, we'll go with the habit and habitat of the fungi. So fungi are heterotrophic because they don't bear chlorophyll, so they are not able to produce their own food. So they are heterotrophic, and they used to absorb the soluble organic matter from dead substrates. So whenever they used to absorb the soluble organic matter from the dead substrates, then it will act as a saprophytes. They have got saprophytic mode of nutrition, who used to feed upon the dead and decaying organisms. Those that used to depend on other plants and animals, they are parasites. So we have got parasitic mode of nutrition also. And some of the fungi, they used to live in symbiotic association with other organisms. For example, lichens, an association of algae and fungi. Okay, then we have got mycorrhiza, where the relation with the roots of higher plants. So habitat is that they are heterotrophic, and the mode of nutrition, it can be saprophytic, it can be parasitic, and also they used to live in symbiotic associations in the form of lichens and in the form of mycorrhiza. Lichens means the association of algae and fungi, and mycorrhiza means the association of fungi with the roots of higher plants. Okay, that we have learned in your previous classes. Okay, now let's go to the structure of the fungi. Now, with the exceptions of yeast, because yeast is unicellular, we learned that. Okay, most of the fungi, they are filamentous. We'll go through structure also afterwards. So fungi, their main body, okay, let's see the thallus, they are filamentous. Their body consists of long, slender, thread-like structures called hyphae. Remember this one. Okay, so The body of fungi, they are filamentous and it's composed of long, slender, thread-like structures which is called the hyphae. Now this hyphae will form a network of structures. So the network of structure of hyphae is known as mycelium. Clear? So the network of hyphae is known as mycelium, and some hyphae are continuous tubes which are filled with multinucleated cytoplasms, which are called cenocytic hyphae. Others have septa or cross walls in their hyphae. So let's go through the diagram. It will be easier for you. So here in the diagram you can see the structure of a hyphae. Okay, so the structure are the hyphae with the branch one. Okay, these are the filament structures and these are the hyphae. And when we find the network of hyphae like this, just examples, then it is called mycelium. So the network of hyphae is known as mycelium. So these are the hyphae. Okay, so when we find the network of hyphae, then those network of hyphae is known as mycelium. Okay, and in most of the cases the hyphae will be without the septa, the wall. Okay, so this is example of the cenocytic hyphae without the wall, and over here you can see the presence of septum or the wall. Clear? So this is the septate hyphae. So this one is the aseptate hyphae. Aseptate means without wall, without septum. Okay, and septate hyphae means with septum or wall, W-A-L-L, wall. So the first case over here you can see the hyphae without the wall. So this is aseptate hyphae, and over here you can see the hyphae with the presence of wall or the septum. So this is the aseptate hyphae. Hope it is clear for you what is aseptate hyphae and septate hyphae. Aseptate means without septum, because I will tell you that the alphabet A means no. N-O, no. So aseptate means without septum, without wall, whereas septate means presence of septum or presence of wall in case of hyphae. Clear? Next one, let's go through the reproduction of fungi. Alright, so whatever the things I am teaching you, kindly note it down. Clear? So this will be your notes also, so kindly write it down also. Next one, let's talk about the reproduction of fungi. So when we talk about the reproduction of fungi, we have got three types of reproductions. Okay, we have got three types of reproductions in fungi: vegetative reproduction, asexual reproduction, and sexual reproduction. So we will find three modes of reproduction in fungi: vegetative, asexual, and sexual. Okay, vegetative means where the fungi used to multiply by means of fragmentation, by means of fission, and by means of budding. These three are important. Clear? So let's go through the fragmentation, fission, and budding. Now in fragmentation, listen carefully. In fragmentation, the hyphae will break into fragments, because fragmentation means to break into fragment, into pieces. Okay, so in fragmentation, the hyphae will break into fragments, and that fragment will develop into new mycelia under favorable conditions. Simple. So in fragmentation, the hyphae will be broken down into numerous fragments, and that fragments will develop into new mycelia under favorable conditions. Clear? So whatever may the number of pieces, number of fragments, each fragment will develop into a new mycelia. Then fission, to break. So in this case, the parental cell will divide into two daughter cells. Clear? So in fission, the parental cell will divide into two daughter cells by means of constriction. There will be evidence of cell constriction or cell plate, and the cytoplasm of the parental cell will divide into two daughter cells. Okay, and each daughter cell will develop into a new individuals, and this fission is common in case of unicellular yeast. Now budding is also seen in unicellular fungi. Alright, like yeast. So what I mean is that a small outgrowth will appear in the vegetative cells and it will enlarge in size. Okay, then nucleus will divide mitotically and the bud receives the daughter nucleus. So I will show you the diagram, it will be easier for you. So look over here, the first one, fragmentation. So what happens in fragmentation? You can see the pieces of fragments. The mycelia, or let's say the hyphae, will be broken down into numerous fragments, and each fragment will develop into a new mycelia under favorable conditions. Look at the fission. In fission, the parental cell, can you see over here? This is the parental cell. So over here, the parental cell will divide into two daughter cells, and over here this is the constriction which is being formed. Okay, so constriction will appear, and that will divide the parental cell into two daughter cells. Look at budding. So in budding, a small bud, can you see the bud over here? Okay, a small bud will appear. This is the mother cell. So a small bud will appear on the mother's body, and that bud will keep on growing. Okay, that bud will keep on growing, and the nucleus will divide mitotically, and that nucleus will also be given to the bud. So this bud will even attach to the parental cell till it develops or till it matures. When it matures, it will detach from the parental body and grow into a new one. Okay, so we'll just go through the fragmentation, fission and budding under vegetative mode of reproduction in fungi. Then let's talk about the asexual reproductions, which occurs through the help of spores. Okay, and these spores are called conidia or sporangiospore or zoospores. So asexual reproduction in fungi, alright, it takes place by the help of spores, and there are different types of spores. We have got conidia, sporangiospores or zoospores. So let's check out the different types of spores. So you can see the first one, the zoospores. So these are called zoosporangia. I've written over here. These are called zoosporangia. zoosporangia. So zoosporangia bears the spores in case of zoospores, and you can see the zoospores being dispersed. Okay, then we have got sporangiophore, where the spores are present in sporangium. Clear? Then we have got chlamydiospores. We have got oidea. Okay, then we have got conidia. Then we have got ascus and ascospores. Okay, then in case of basidiospores, we have got basidium. Clear? You can see the presence of basidiospores over here. So these are the different types of spores which will help in asexual mode of reproduction in case of fungi. Clear? Now next one, we'll talk about the sexual mode of reproductions. Clear? So sexual reproduction is by oospores, ascospores and basidiospores. We have got various types of spores which are distinct and which will bear the fruiting bodies. Now we have got 3 steps in case of sexual mode of reproduction. Okay, we have got 3 steps in sexual mode of reproductions, and those 3 steps in sexual reproduction in case of fungi, they are plasmogamy, karyogamy and meiosis. So plasmogamy, karyogamy and meiosis, they are the 3 steps which are involved in the sexual mode of reproduction in case of fungi. So let's go through the definition of plasmogamy, karyogamy and meiosis. Okay, so what is plasmogamy? So plasmogamy means the fusion of protoplasm. So kindly note it down. Plasmogamy means the fusion of protoplasm between the 2 gametes. One will be motile or non-motile gametes. So plasmogamy is simply the fusion between the 2 motile or 2 non-motile gametes. Motile means which are able to move. Non-motile means which are not able to move. Then what is karyogamy? Karyogamy involves the fusion of 2 haploid nuclei. Listen very carefully. Karyogamy involves the fusion of 2 haploid nuclei forming a diploid nucleus. Plasmogamy is simply the fusion of protoplasm. Clear? Whereas karyogamy is the fusion of 2 haploid nuclei which will result in the formation of diploid nucleus called synkaryon. So don't get confused between plasmogamy and karyogamy. In plasmogamy, there will be fusion of protoplasm between the 2 motile or non-motile gametes. But in karyogamy, there will be fusion of 2 haploid nuclei which will produce the diploid nucleus called synkaryon. Then the third step is meiosis. Clear? So in meiosis, what I mean is that in between karyogamy and plasmogamy, sometimes we will find a certain point of cessation, stoppage. Okay, that will break in between. During that time, what we find is that the cell will contain 2 nuclei. Okay, the cell will contain how many nuclei? The 2 nuclei. And such cells with 2 nuclei are called dikaryotic cells, and the phase is called dikaryotic phase. So we'll go through it, don't worry. So we'll look over there in meiosis, which is called reductional division also. Okay, so let's go to meiosis now. So whenever the fungus reproduces sexually, remember the 2 steps: plasmogamy, which will be followed by karyogamy, and karyogamy will be followed by meiosis. So whenever the fungus will reproduce sexually, 2 haploid hyphae which are compatible, which are similar, okay, they will mate with one another. So whenever they will come together, they will fuse. So those similar hyphae which are haploid, which are compatible, which are similar with one another, when they come in contact with one another, they will fuse. Clear? Two haploid hyphae, I am saying that. Now in some fungi, the two fusion, in some fungi, the fusion of two haploid nuclei will immediately result in the formation of diploid cells. Okay, in most of the fungi, whenever the two haploid hyphae or the two haploid nuclei will fuse, it will ultimately lead to the formation of diploid cells or the diploid nucleus, which is called 2N. But there are certain fungi like Ascomycetes and Basidiomycetes where we will find an intervening stage between plasmogamy and karyogamy. Okay, so in Ascomycetes and Basidiomycetes, we will find an intervening stage between plasmogamy and karyogamy where they will contain two nuclei, that is N plus N, that is two nuclei per cell. So in per cell we will find how many nuclei? Two cells. So such a stage, such a condition is called dikaryon and the phase is called dikaryophase. Okay, so I will repeat one more time. So what we are saying is that mainly when the fungal hyphae are compatible, when they are similar, okay, when the two haploid compatible hyphae will come in contact with one another, they will fuse. Immediately, in certain fungi, whenever the two haploid nuclei will fuse, they will result in the formation of diploid cell 2N. But in certain fungi like Ascomycetes and Basidiomycetes, an intervening stage is present between the plasmogamy and the karyogamy where they will contain two nuclei per cell, N plus N. So such a stage is called dikaryon and the phase is called dikaryotic phase. Okay, and afterwards the parental nuclei will fuse and the cell becomes diploids. So the fungi will form the fruiting bodies in which reproduction division occur, leading to formation of haploid spores. So plasmogamy, karyogamy and meiosis are the three steps which are involved in the process of sexual reproduction in case of fungi. In plasmogamy, there will be fusion of protoplasms between the two motile or non-motile gametes. Motile means which are able to move and non-motile means which are not able to move. Then it will be followed by karyogamy where there will be fusion of two haploid nuclei which will form a diploid nucleus. Then meiosis, whenever the haploid fungi, or haploid hyphae, when they are compatible, then those two haploid hyphae will fuse with one another and lead to the formation of diploid cells. But however, there are certain fungi like Ascomycetes, Basidiomycetes where we will find an intervening stage between the plasmogamy and karyogamy where the cell will contain two nuclei per cells, N plus N, and such a condition is called dikaryon and the phase is called dikaryophase of fungi, and afterwards the parental nuclei fuse and the cell becomes diploids. Okay, so these are the three steps in the sexual motor reproductions in case of fungi. Clear? Now we will see the types of sexual reproduction in fungi. Types. So we have got different types of sexual reproduction in fungi, like one is planogametic copulations, then we have got gametogenial contact, then gametangial copulations, then spermatizations and somatogamy. Okay, we have got 5 types of sexual reproduction in fungi. One is planogametic copulation, number 2 gametangial contact, number 3 gametangial copulation, number 4 spermatization, and number 5 somatogamy. But we'll only go through planogametic copulation. Okay, we'll not go through the rest of the types, but simply we'll go through only planogametic copulations, and under planogametic copulations we'll see the 3 types of gametes: isogamy, anisogamy and oogamy, which are there in your syllabus. Okay, so on the types of sexual reproductions we are going through planogametic copulations, which will involve the fusion of 2 compatible gametes. Okay, the motile gamete is called planogametes. Motile means which are able to move, and those motile gametes, it results in the formation of diploid gamete, and gametes are of 3 types. Clear? So planogametic copulation means fusion of 2 compatible gametes. Compatible means similar, and motile gamete is called planogametes, and the fusion of those 2 motile gametes will lead to the formation of diploid gamete. And gametes are of 3 types. What are they? Isogamy, anisogamy and oogamy. Now what is isogamy? Now, when the fusing gametes are morphologically similar, morpho means form. Write it down. Meaning M-O-R-P-H-O. Morpho means form, structure. So whenever the fusing gametes, they are structurally similar. Okay, we cannot differentiate them in terms of structures. They used to look similar with one another, but physiologically they are different. Okay, so whenever the fusing gametes are morphologically similar but physiologically different in terms of the functions, then those gametes are called isogamy or the isogametes. Okay, so whenever the fusing gametes are morphologically similar, they are called isogamy. Now, what is anisogamy? The fusing gametes are morphologically different and physiologically different, because A means no. So in anisogamy, the fusing gametes, they are morphologically different, they are physiologically different. Okay, so whenever they are different, we can usually see the male gamete and the female gamete. So male gamete is more active and small, while the female gamete is less active and large. Then oogamy, where oo means egg. Okay, where the egg or the female gamete is non-motile. Listen very carefully. In oogamy, the female gamete is called egg and it is non-motile. It cannot move. Whereas the male gamete is small, active and motile, and it is called sperm. Okay, so in oogamy, the female gamete is called ova or egg, which is non-motile, whereas the male gamete is small, active and motile, means they are able to move, and it is called sperm. So we have got three types of gametes: isogamy, anisogamy and oogamy. Okay, kindly write the definition of the three types of gametes. Okay, so here you can see the isogamy, where the fusing gametes will be morphologically similar. Can you see? Both the gametes are morphologically similar. In terms of structure, they are similar. Okay, then anisogamy, where the fusing gametes will be morphologically different and physiologically different. And oogamy, you can see the egg over here, the female gamete, which is non-motile. Okay, and sperm, which are small and which are motile and which is active. Okay, so we will not go through the gamete-angel contact, gamete-angel copulations, and spermatization and somatogamy. We will just go through the planogametic copulations, and on the planogametic copulations, we have learned that over here the haploid gametes will be fused to form a diploid zygotes, and the diploid gametes are three types: isogamy, anisogamy and oogamy. Okay, so this was for today's class. So we will continue with the same kingdom fungi in the next class. Thank you and see you in next class.